right, all. Hopefully, you guys, ha learned a lot during the first project where you learned to, work with images, work with the basics of, After Effects in terms of, um, being able to do motion, simple motion of position changes, scale changes, all that good stuff. So we're going to kind of continue. Up to this point, we have not talked about, haven't really dealt much with video. We're going to get finally into video. Okay. Um, for this course, I'm going to show you guys, I will give you video for labs. If you want to find video, um, obviously, if you want to do AI video, I will allow that because this is not a what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a video editing course or a film course. I don't care if you make the video yourself or whether you use AI. So if you want to do that, that's fine. Another good one that I recommend is Pexels, has video. So if you wanted to find some non-AI generated video, although it's probably got a bunch of AI in it now, but like let's say I type in dog, there's lots of videos of dogs here that you can play around with, or I don't know. Try to think of something interesting and fun. How about coffee? Mostly because I'm drinking it right now. There you go. So I could download this video. You can see it actually comes in different standards like standard definition, regular HD, full HD, 4K, all that good stuff. Once again, I really recommend that you work small for now, mostly so that, obviously you can take all the skills I teach you and do high def, in 4K later. For now, I'm trying to like just keep it easier to learn and then, feel free to do some of these on your own. So I could download this video. So I just downloaded a video here. It's gonna probably have some weird name on it. I'm just gonna call it like coffee, and I'm gonna put it into today's files. Make sure you have today's files as per usual. Okay. All right, so we're gonna bring in some video. I'm gonna do an import, and I'm going to insert grab some videos. So let's grab some of these videos here. The ones that I gave you, kayak, kitty, parrot, and puppy. Okay. So the first thing I just want to kind of let you guys notice is that because these are videos, a couple things. One, they will have under the video info, you can see the dimensions. So this is like showing you this is HD or not HD, sorry, it's standard. These are a little bit smaller. It's showing you the frame rate. A lot of video frame rates you're going to find are probably going to be about 29.97. Let's even do the coffee one. That's actually on PAL, so that's 25. So you will see there might be a little bit of speed up or slow down, dependent on your composition, okay, which we've set to 30. A lot of it probably won't be super noticeable because switching 29.97 to 30 is very minimal. Maybe over the course of an hour, you might notice something, but for, a 5-second piece, it's really not that noticeable. So just kind of notice that. You can also sort of see the duration. So, if I were to do duration as one of my options here, this is giving you the time code of how long the video is. So I can quickly look at this and go, okay, this is 9 seconds in one frame, 5 seconds, 7 seconds, 8 seconds, so on and so on. So, the first thing we're going to do is how to do some very basic editing. Okay. This is not, you should not be using Adobe After Effects as a video editor. That's not really the point of this. If you want to do, video editing, I recommend learning Adobe Premiere Pro. Chabot has many courses in film editing, so I really recommend you take one of those, and they'll go much more in depth with aspects of filmmaking and recording and all that kind of stuff that I don't really have time to get into in this course. But you guys will be, working with that. That being said, we can do some very minor edits. So what I'm going to do is grab this puppy footage, and I'm just going to double click on it. And when you do that, I'm going to go to where it says footage puppy video. Okay. And when I look at that, you can see here I have this footage. I'm just going to hit play and it plays the footage. It's a little, what's the word? A little chipper, little jittery there. Now I have this text at the beginning that I really don't want. So I want to cut this out. So really what I really kind of want as my sweet spot is maybe from about 1 second to about, sorry, my screens went all crazy here. There we go. And I want to get from about there to maybe like, I don't know, about 7 seconds. Okay. So what I'm really trying to do is I want this part of the footage and I want to get rid of this part. All right. I don't want that part. So what can I do? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to set an in and out point. When you set an in and out point, you're basically saying this is where we want the footage to start, and this is where we want the piece of footage to end. Okay. Now, there's ways to do this. If you're in the footage window here, I'm going to start by hitting, here's the in button, the in point. Notice how it cuts this off. The blue actually represents the footage we're going to use, and I'm going to go to about 7 seconds. And this is where I'm going to do the out point. Okay. Other ways to do this would be using the I believe. Nope, maybe not. I'm thinking of Premiere Pro. All right, I was looking it up. I know is actually Premiere Pro. If you want to do the keyboard shortcut, another way to do this is we did this before when we talked about cutting a layer in After Effects. You can use Option right facing bracket to do an in point, and you can do Option left facing bracket to do an out point. Okay. So now that I have this piece of footage, I can now add it into my composition. There's a couple ways you could do this. One, you could literally just drag it in. And when I do that, you can see how it's like brought this in, although it's cut off it's cut off the excess points, and I just have the piece of footage that I want. This is kind of annoying because then you got to kind of like do this and that kind of thing. So there's another way we could do this, which is if we go under my footage here, I'm going to over here, you might see where it says ripple insert and then it says overlay insert. And what I'm going to do is hit ripple insert, and that's going to just insert it automatically into my composition as such. Now, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to grab the parrot video. And once again, I don't want all of the footage. Maybe I just want from about 1 second to about, I don't know, let's just say for the sake of argument, 4 seconds. So once again, I can either do hit the input and then do the output. Another way to do this would be once again using Option right facing bracket for the in point and Option left facing bracket for the out point. And I'm going to bring this in once again. Now, when you do the ripple insert, what I want you to notice is wherever you put your time marker, see how like it basically split the puppy video into two parts? Like, see how my time marker is kind of like in the middle here? And when you do an insert, it literally kind of like, what it basically did this sort of magical slice motion here, wherever your time marker was, and it took the puppy video and it took this part was kept and then this part was basically moved, right? And then it kind of put it in between. This is the parrot footage. And so it kind of made it like a sandwich, if that makes sense. It's like as it was a piece of bread, you went boom, moved it, stick the video in. Okay. That's one way to do it. I'm going to undo this. Let's go back. Another way to do this is rather than using ripple insert, I'm going to use overlay. And when I do that, it will insert the video, but it won't like cut the previous. It just kind of like literally puts it on top. Okay. So you can see that it just puts in the new video, but it didn't, uh, it didn't cut the old video. So either way is possible. Like I said, you can either literally drag it in, although you got to deal with sort of if you did some in and out points, you're going to have to kind of like move this into place so that these kind of match up. Or you could do the insert method, the ripple insert, which would insert it directly wherever your line is and cut through the other content and move it to put it at the end of wherever your insert is. Or you can do an overlay so that whatever you do, it's inserted, but it doesn't affect the other content. So for instance, I just took this piece of footage of coffee. So I'm just kind of scrubbing through it. So maybe I want just maybe I like this part of it. So I'm gonna take in and out points, and then I kind of want it maybe at the beginning here. So actually, I kind of don't want to lose my footage here of my puppy and then the parrot. I kind of like the order, so let's actually do this as a insert. So that way, like as soon as this is done, then it goes to the next one. My footage is a little bit bigger because this is like, if we look at the composition here, this is 740 by 480, so it's standard, but I think this, yeah, this footage is like 2K. It's 2560 by 1440. So it's never going to fit, but if I shrink it, I could kind of shrink it to kind of fit into the space here. Okay. So that's just some very basic, dealing with footage. Hopefully a lot of your footage is kind of edited by the time you get it. You really shouldn't be, dealing with that here. All right, so we're dealing with videos now. Just to sort of note that in the same way we could and use there were transform properties when we dealt with images. Those included position, rotation, scale, transparency, anchor point. In the same way that we had that when we were working with images, we can do the same thing with footage. So I have this picture of a cat, or sorry, picture. I have footage of a cat, and I'm going to set a position here. And over 2 seconds, I'm going to have that cat move to the right side. So what's going to happen is as the footage runs, it's also moving. Okay. The way I like to kind of think of it is like, imagine I had a phone and my phone was like playing like a YouTube video and then I did this. So it's like the video is playing on the playback device, but it's also moving at the same time. Okay. And that's kind of what's happening here. I'm going to take this puppy video and maybe we'll play around with scale. So I'm going to hit scale and then maybe over 2 seconds, it scales up to be, 100%. Just like with raster images built in Photoshop, video by definition is always raster based. So if you take a video and you blow it above 100%, it will always distort. There is no such thing as a vector video. That's just the way it goes. Okay. I want to talk about blend modes. So this is one of these things where it's like, if you know what I'm talking about, great. If you don't know, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. If you've ever worked in Photoshop, you might be aware of the concept of blend modes. And what a blend mode is a way of blending two layers together. So I don't know. I'm just going to take this picture. This is an image. And I'm going to bring this into Photoshop. This could also be done for Photopea. So I have these two layers here. And a blend mode is when you basically use the luminance or aspects of those images, which include luminance or color, to blend between two layers. So for instance, if I did this, I'm actually blending the light areas of both layers together, or I could blend the dark areas of both layers together. You can get some interesting effects. We can actually do the same thing in After Effects. So I have two videos here. I have a kitty video and I have a puppy video that are sitting on top of each other. And what I can do is I'm going to click where it says toggle switches and modes. And by doing that, there's mode. Mode in this case means blend mode. And you might notice that this looks almost identical to what we get in Photoshop. The way this is going to work is it's going to blend each pixel of each video against the layer below it. So the way you should think about it is like, here's the cat layer, and then here's the puppy layer. And this is for every pixel, okay? And it's like, it's looking at the luminance and the color of each pixel and comparing it to the layer directly below it. So I'm not going to go through like every blend mode because that would take a while, but I'll kind of summarize them. And once again, if you don't have experience with this, you don't have to really worry about it. This is kind of interesting things to understand. So if we have darken, multiply, color burn, classic burn, linear burn, what this does is it blends the dark or the shadow areas of two layers together. So this would be like the dark areas for here. This would be like the dark areas. So if I were to blend these together, you can see how the dark areas kind of come through and actually make the image literally darker. The way I kind of explain it is like when we play around with like luminance, luminance is how bright or dark something is. There's bright areas, also known as highlights. There's dark areas, also known as shadows. And then there's kind of everything in between, which we usually refer to as midtones. Um, I always kind of say when you add dark areas to dark areas, it's kind of like adding a negative number to another negative number. If you have -1 and you add it to -5, you get a larger negative number, which would be -6. Okay. And that's kind of what happened here. We added two dark areas and my scene ended up darker than it would be normally. This is how it is normally. This is how it is combining the shadows of the two layers. Create something interesting, but in general, I made it darker. I could do add lighten, screen, color dodge, linear dodge, lighten color. I'll do screen. It is kind of the opposite, where rather than doing the combining the shadows of two video layers, it will combine the uh, two bright layers, the two highlights of those layers. The result of that is that my scene gets brighter than it would have been normally. Overlay kind of does highlights and shadows. So when you add highlights and shadows together, you actually end up with a bigger range of luminance. You have very dark darks, very bright brights, and a lot of midtones. And that typically makes things a little bit more have contrast and really stand out. So it kind of, you can kind of see how this is with no, this is by itself. There's not a lot of contrast in what's going on, but when I kind of merge them together with overlay, you can see how much contrast there is there. All right. So that's working with blend modes. So blend modes, like blend modes for images, except in After Effects, you're dealing with videos and not images, but the concept is still the same. All right, one more thing, and I'll let you guys try this out. So right now I have a small clip. Sometimes we might want, actually, this is how the video should normally look. Sometimes we're going to want our video to go faster or shorter. In other words, we want to take the footage and we want to speed it up, or we might want to take the footage and we might want to slow it down. Now, the way we could do this is I'm going to click on these little arrows here that say expand or collapse in-out duration stretch panels. I'll do that. This shows the in and out point of my video, how long the video is in terms of length, and then the stretch. What I'm going to do is take the stretch and I'm going to say instead of 100% means like the default speed. So let's look at before I do anything, let's just kind of look at like the default speed. There's the default speed. I'm going to take that and make it 200%. What this means is essentially the video is now going to be twice as long as it normally was. When you take the same action and give it twice the time, it actually slows it down a little bit. So this is actually going to go a little slower than it was before. Might want to zoom out a little bit here. The more I stretch it, the slower the action. So if you wanted to take something and make it kind of like a slow-mo kind of situation, like a Wes Anderson film or something, you could do that. I could also do the opposite and speed this up. So if I stretch it 50%, that actually means it's twice its normal speed, which means if you're giving it half the time to do the same action, the only way you can do that is by making it faster. Usually when footage is sped up, it's usually to make actions kind of more interesting, like more hard hitting. Sometimes it's done for comedic effect. So I don't know. I'm gonna take that coffee footage we just downloaded. If you want to slow footage down, a lot of times it helps if there's like something where there needs to be like a frame of reference, you know? So here it's like, okay, I need some footage. I want to see the coffee pour and fill up the cup because we sort of know how long that would normally last. Let's make it like, I don't know, 2 seconds maybe. And then I'm going to stretch this to last longer. Let's also shrink this so it actually fits. There you go. To get a nice slow-mo. Alrighty, I want you guys try that out. That was one, two, three, and four in terms of today's drills. Okay.